there is a story that has popped up that I was just not ready. Tre'vell, you and I on Saturday were hosting the media summit for NABJLA, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later. But by the end of the day, I heard, "Did you hear about Jonathan Majors?" And I was
My
like,
God, today.
"What?"
Yeah, we were otherwise obligated, so we weren't following the hubbub, I'll call it, that was happening on the Twitters. But okay, so we wanted to talk about this in our Pass the Popcorn segment, right? Because there's so much discourse happening right now that's like beyond the actual alleged incident itself that I think, is just interesting to tease through at this particular cultural moment. But I want to start by saying, this is something that I first articulated for myself, at least, around the whole Jussie Smollett situation a couple years ago, which is that we should start from a place of believing people who say they've been victimized. And we can start from that place, and then do whatever, or allow the various entities to do whatever investigations and reports and all that other stuff that will come from there. But we can start from a place of believing people who say they've been victimized, right? And
Absolutely.
some of the latest details about the whole Jonathan Majors situation as we go to record Tuesday morning, okay? Jonathan was arrested on Saturday and charged with several counts of assault in the third degree, 3 counts of attempted assault in the third degree, 1 count of aggravated harassment in the second degree, and 1 count of harassment in the second degree. It is alleged by an unnamed female accuser at the time that he did, quote, strike her about the face with an open hand, causing substantial pain and a laceration behind her ear. The woman also claimed that he, quote, put his hand on her neck, causing bruising and substantial pain. Now, that was Saturday. By Sunday, Jonathan Majors' team and attorney began speaking out, disputing the claims, saying, quote, Jonathan Majors is completely innocent and is provably the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows. They say there is video footage from the vehicle where the alleged incident took place. They have witness testimony from the driver and onlookers, and 2 written statements from the woman recanting the allegations. Okay. It also came out on Monday, is when I saw this bit of information, that Jonathan Majors was actually the person who called 911 due to concerns for the woman's health. And that when the police arrived, they arrested him instead of, tending to the woman in question. The woman reportedly is his girlfriend, wife, partner, who he lives with. Now, those are just the facts of where we are as we go to record. We will see how this all continues to play out, right, as the information is coded together. But the thing that stuck out to me conversation-wise is about, the discourse that seems to be happening at this particular moment on the socials and in the group chats, right? And to me, there's multiple discourses happening at once. One, there's this ongoing discourse for the last few weeks about how Jonathan Majors in particular, this also applies to Michael B. Jordan, are perpetuating and participating in the emasculation of the Black man. Right? Jonathan Majors was on the cover of Ebony magazine with a pink background, a little jacket or whatever, that people have deemed feminine, right? And then there was that photo, I believe taken by photographer Giancarlo, of Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, hugged up, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know the photo. That's discourse number 1 that I've been seeing. Discourse number 2, right? Jonathan Majors is at the biggest moment in his career thus far, right? He's got Creed that just came out. Ant-Man and the Quantumanium, or whatever that thing's called, just came out. Magazine Dreams premiered at Sundance and got very good, response about. It's going to be coming out in December. Stay tuned. They just announced that. It was just announced that he's going to be in another movie. Dennis Rodman. He's going to be playing Dennis Rodman, right? It's a particular interesting moment just for him career wise. That's discourse number 2, and then discourse number 3 that I see going on is talking about the physicality, right, of his body in these particular recent roles, and how all 3 of those discourses happening at this particular moment in which now there is this allegation, right, of abuse, right? And I will just note before I turn it over to you, because I'm getting tired of talking.
I was tired of it. No, I'm kidding.
Wow. even as we now have these details, these latest details about perhaps, the allegation being, not true, there have also been these tweets that have popped up from people who allegedly say they knew or know Jonathan Majors from, back in the day when he was in school, and saying that, that they always knew something like this was likely or possible. But so it's just interesting to me to just note all of those kind of slivers of discourse that are happening at this one time. I just find that very peculiar and interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for all of that. I no I'm kidding. I think that was actually a really great summation of it, because I got into the meeting with you yesterday and we were talking about doing this, and you had more details that were just coming out that day, and I'm like, this feels like one of those stories that even by the time this episode comes out, there will be a
Mm-hmm.
couple more like new pieces of information or twists.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on the last part that you touched on, as far as like the physicality of his black body, and I more so mean about like the sexualization of him, right?
Mm.
Some of which
Mhm.
he's participated in, and some of which has been, kind of foisted on him. I was watching him in all of his interviews, him and Michael B. Jordan in their Creed press tour, and thinking like, there's always people coming on to them in the interviews, and I'm not sure what they're supposed to say or do, right? Like in every interview, not every interview, but like many of the interviews is, oh my God, you're so sexy. Oh my God, your body. Oh, you're so this. Oh, you're so that. Oh, baby, I would let you do whatever. Like, and that kind of thing, like to their face. And like, I'm like, I don't know how they were supposed to respond, right? And I was thinking about how hypersexualized they've been as we heard this story um coming out. I was thinking about like what was going on, like trying to figure out what was happening here, that some woman had been attacked, and I started thinking about the way I've seen the discourse around him happening in the world, around them two happening in the world, and I was like, I hope that it's not like some woman that we don't know. But then it was like, oh, this seems like it's a person that's his partner. And I was like, oh, this is like a hidden partner kind of thing, or like a partner that we've at least not seen him talk about in interviews. And it made me think about also like Jay Ellis, right? Who has had
Mm.
a girlfriend for a long time that has been out of public view until getting married. I thought about a lot of things with this story. And you talked about the major moment in his career. And I thought like, not knowing the details of what happened, he's got to be feeling like, I have just ruined my life right now, because he has so much
Well
coming up for him. Go ahead.
well, I don't you mentioned this yesterday, and I don't if the evidence that his attorney and team have said that they actually have, I actually don't think that there is going to be a slight here, right, for him in his
Well,
career. He might be feeling that, or uncertain perhaps about that.
well,
Go ahead.
that's not what I meant though. I meant like my first impression when this first happened, right? Like before we had this new stuff about about the recant or the retraction of a
Mhm.
statement and that kind of stuff. Now I feel like we're seeing things kind of start to change and shift in his favor. But like, I mean, he's got Disney and Marvel behind him. Like, I'm sure they're going to figure out how to be able to make it okay. But it does make me wonder what actually happened. I want to hear his story. I want to hear her story. Like, I want to know those things before I can really have like a judgment on it.
Absolutely. And I just want to note, right, that like, because we've seen another public instance of a black man who was at the height of his career at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
a sexual some impropriety went down, and
Say what you
his
mean.
I said what I mean, honey, because this is the journalist side. You got to use the right language, honey, or else you're gonna be like that
Well,
girl who got sued. You got to watch your mouth. But right, like, I think the issue, and I'm talking about Nate Parker, if that's not clear, and I think that initial thought and response that you had, right, calls back to me a Nate Parker situation, right? And
mm-hmm.
we haven't heard from Nate Parker since that. Well, y'all have. He's had short films and stuff, but he's not where he was at that point in his career, right? And I think that um part of the kind of media witnessing, if that makes sense, or kind of the critical media eye that I'm taking at like this situation unfold, this crisis management, right, situation basically unfold, is that, right, Nate Parker fucked up when he opened his mouth, right? Is the moment at which it went left. Jonathan Majors himself has not yet said anything, right? And probably should not say anything until this is, completely done, and then we will see what his response is. But, too soon to tell.
Yeah, I will say like my immediate reaction was also like I was only centering the voices of black folks on this because of the dynamics of race in this kind of story. Like everybody is entitled to their opinion, but it was like, yeah, I want to hear from black people on this. Like this is that's the opinions that I really want to center, the voices that I want to hear. And I specifically really wanted to hear the perspectives, and I haven't heard them yet, but like of Tamron Hall and Sherry Shepherd. Like I want to hear from black women as this story kind of evolves. So we'll definitely be following this. I don't know. We may be talking about it again on the show here sometime soon, but we want to know what y'all think about this. Hit us up on social media using the hashtag FantiFam about Pass the Popcorn and Jonathan Major. Pass the pop.
All right,
It's
friend.
both of us today. It's both of us apparently. So